Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Monday held a meeting with his top bureaucrats. He credited the officials, their work and performance as the reason behind PM's massive electoral win. He also outlined a vision for the next 5 years for Team Modi 2.0. Final objective, all government programs must be aimed at improving ease of living for the people. He said people of the nation have given a clear mandate and set the agenda for the government, and everyone must work together to achieve it.
People of the nation gave a clear and huge mandate to Prime Minister Narendra Modi-led government in the Lok Sabha elections. The message was clear, a government that delivers a better future. As Prime Minister Modi begins his new tenure, he met top bureaucrats from various ministries. At the meet, Prime Minister gave a context to his big electoral win. He said credit for pro-incumbency must go to the team of officials. He added that people have voted to change the status quo and see a better life for themselves. Crediting the secretaries for the success of his first term, Prime Minister underlined the role played by the government officials in ensuring that the programs of the government reached the intended beneficiary. He also presented a roadmap for the upcoming challenges. At the meeting, the Cabinet Secretary mentioned two important tasks which would be placed before the sectoral group of secretaries. First, a 5-year plan document for each ministry with well-defined targets and milestones. And second, a significant, impactful decision in each ministry for which approvals will be taken within 100 days. During the interaction, various secretaries shared their vision and ideas. The focus was on subjects such as administrative decision-making, agriculture, rural development and Panchayati Raj, IT initiatives, education reform, healthcare, industrial policy, economic growth, skill development, among others. During his interaction with the secretaries, Prime Minister not only outlined the agenda of his government, but also assured the bureaucrats that they must feel confident in taking positive decisions in the interest of the nation. Prime Minister said that the Indian voter has outlined a vision for the next 5 years, and this is now an opportunity before us. He said that the huge expectations of the people should not be viewed as a challenge, but an opportunity. He said that the mandate reflects the will and aspirations of the people to change the status quo and seek a better life for themselves. Prime Minister urged the secretaries to focus on improving the lives of the poor. Prime Minister's interaction is seen as a unique attempt to establish a sense of camaraderie among the bureaucrats, where every official is on board and committed to the vision of government. On the economic front, Prime Minister said it is essential that the demographics be utilized efficiently. Every department of the Union government and every district of each state has a role to play in making India a $5 trillion economy. He touched upon the importance of Make in India initiative and the need to make tangible progress towards this end. He said that India's progress in ease of doing business should reflect in greater facilitation for small businesses and entrepreneurs. Prime Minister said that each ministry of the government should focus on ease of living. He added that water, fisheries and animal husbandry will also be important areas for the government. All in all, Prime Minister's meeting with secretaries to the Government of India underlines the objective of achieving ease of living for the masses. It will require meticulous planning and efficient use of technology as well. Newsnight Desk, DD India.
And that brings us to the issue in focus this evening in Newsnight. Prime Minister's interaction with secretaries. Focus on ease of living. That's the issue in focus this evening. And joining me in the studio is senior journalist Mr. Praful Ketkar. Welcome, sir, to our studios. Now, before we get into the particular takeaways, Prime Minister often has this image of a one-man army, that he manages everything on his own, takes decisions, implements them. But on the occasion like this, when he sits with his ministerial colleagues and all the bureaucrats together, and an interaction like this takes place, that we realize that it's the team Modi that works together and performs and realizes the dreams of 1 billion people.
Certainly, we need to understand that this was not the first of this kind of interaction. In 2014, when he took over, he had similar kind of interaction. Then, before the end of the tenure also, he had similar kind of interaction.
Yes.
In fact, after completing the tenure, he ensured that at least his PMO complete staff had a very informal kind of get together with them, and now this. See, the problem is we need to understand that this the steel frame or the bureaucracy, whatever we call it, ultimately it is the permanent government.
Political regimes come and go. They say,
and the political decisions taken are to be executed and implemented on the ground by this machinery. Now, how do you handle them? I think Prime Minister has come up with a totally a different kind of approach. On the one hand, you empower them. You give them full freedom. You give them confidence that you are free to take a very innovative, out of the box decisions.
You should think like Prime Minister.
Yeah,
in fact,
and at the same time, you are accountable for certain acts, or rather acts of omissions and commissions. So this is a clear-cut message that he has given. If you make mistake while making taking some bold steps, that doesn't matter. But what he has underlined here is very important. He said the mandate is to actually disrupt the status quo. So the real image of Prime Minister is a disruptive leader.
Is he also there connecting the people's mandate with the performance of the bureaucrats? Often bureaucrats were seen, as you mentioned, they're like the permanent government. They were unaffected by which government comes into power. So by linking people's trust, expectations with the bureaucrats, he's doing something different from the other political regimes.
Yes, first time we have seen this.
There's a direct accountability to the people.
Yes, two kinds of statements that were made in yesterday's interaction. First one, that this is a positive mandate, and this positive mandate is because of the hard work and efforts that you have taken. So indirectly he is saying that okay, decisions are taken by the political leadership, but ultimately you are the people who executed them on the ground. It may not be possible to translate them 100% as per the the decisions intended, but your hard work was in the right direction, and that's why I could get this kind of mandate. At the same time, when he said that our prime target are twofold. One is ease of living for the common people, and ease of doing business for the small and medium scale entrepreneurs, businesses. It means till now we couldn't move very fast in this direction. Now there is an opportunity, and he has identified the opportunity to inspire people.
Talking about the core aspect of ease of living, I mean, to think of it, it seems like a natural outcome of good governance. If this governance is good, then our lives of people around us would improve. We've seen a number of reforms taking place in Prime Minister's first stint, whether we talk about Swachh Bharat, making toilets for the poor, connecting everyone to the banking facility. In tangible terms, what are the expectations now in the new term when we talk about ease of living? What ends are we looking at?
See,
or is it extension of reforms?
It is extension. I think the foundation is created. You need to create a new kind of structure over it. But while doing that, there has to be tangible targets, and that's what Prime Minister has clearly. In fact, the Chief Secretary has given twofold targets. One is you should have a five-year plan, clear-cut agenda for your ministry with tangible targets, and at the same time for the key decisions which will require long-term planning and investment, you should take approval in next 100 days. It simply means you can't work and expect in a typical red tapeism mindset of bureaucracy. Now here is the government which means delivery, and if that delivery has to be people centric, then it has to be quick and result oriented.
Is an emphasis on the bureaucracy becoming more proactive instead of putting hurdles that will come out with solutions and ways to deliver. And the things that you mentioned, the two tasks assigned by the Cabinet Secretary, it also talks about a certain plan for long term and short term as well. In the first 100 days, in fact, when he talks about the significant steps need to be approved by the government. So
Yes,
they need to come up with a plan.
It simply means in 100 days they should be very clear what they want to achieve in next 5 years. And he has chosen a very right kind of, because if we see whether Swachh Bharat or even for that matter I would include all kinds of steps that were taken either for Digital India or demonetization or whatever, they were basically based on the participatory approach with the people. He has clearly underlined this fact that this 75 years of India's independence is an opportunity to inspire people to participate in various activities.
Right.
We should not forget the fact that parallelly this government has created one department called Jal Shakti ministry.
Yes.
And now that ministry has taken an ambitious target of taking tap water to each and every household by 2014. Besides that, agricultural income, house for each family, these targets by 2022 are already there. So how we can move in that direction? Perhaps one important takeaway that we shouldn't miss in this entire interaction is the way kind of emphasis that was given on fisheries, water, animal husbandry and small business activities.
Right, and also the aspects that Prime Minister spoke about in terms of jobs and employment. He said the demographic advantage that India has is a crucial factor, and it's been stayed as an important factor for some years now. On that front, how challenging do you think the road ahead is for Team Modi 2.0?
It is certainly, because when you have you raise in fact high expectations, you have to deliver up to those expectations. So here the challenge and employability and skill base, considering the world scenario and the way global economy is actually slowed down, and this trend has been continued for a long time. The way oil market and the scenario in oil-rich countries that is unstable and
Hmm.
uncertain, we are facing for key challenges.
And remember, we have special committees, cabinet committees, also focusing on these
on skills and employability. Skills and employability.
Yes.
So and another committee on growth. So you cannot have a growth which is not actually translating into jobs. That is the key and important aspect that government has taken into, and if that is to be taken, then the rural development, the agriculture and allied activities, then small and medium businesses, these are the key areas where
that's where I'd like to come back to, Praful, that you mentioned the priority given to water management, fisheries. So there is a certain potential, and we know that separate ministry also has been assigned in animal husbandry and others. Is it also aimed at really realizing the true potential of these allied agricultural activities as they were seen till now, and connected with the demographic advantage, creation of jobs that we're talking about?
See, there is no option when you are talking about, because the way the fragmentation of land ownership is happening, the way agricultural income is getting saturated, unless it is supported by something else, and the side effect of this is more dangerous. The way rural population is migrating towards urban centers for job opportunities, and when they don't get their jobs or employability up to the expectation, it creates a more social tension. So you need to create, and this is one way where in the first tenure, when Prime Minister talked about this entire idea of rural mission, where rural areas will have urban facilities, but their soul will still remain essentially rural and agro-based. How, whether our ministries, our bureaucracy, our entire government system is tuned up to this kind of creation of infrastructure and facilities.
And if we talk about the small businesses and entrepreneurs, a lot of focus on that also in this particular interaction. Now we've seen GST reforms aimed at easing the lives of businessmen, and there's also a flagship announcement for pension as well for small time shopkeepers. In that regard, what scope there is, you think, for further reforms? What have been the core grievances of people from this particular sector that perhaps the team of Prime Minister could focus on?
See, one aspect was the availability of cash flow. That is to some extent is
Liquidity,
addressed,
yeah.
liquidity crunch. That is to some extent is addressed by the schemes like Mudra Yojana and other bank supporting schemes. But the real issue seems to be, on the one hand, you have a huge chunk of population which is saying that we are not getting any job. On the other hand, you have many small, medium, even high-tech industries that are saying that we are not getting skilled manpower. How to bridge this gap?
Yeah,
How to bridge this gap is the biggest challenge. And unless you change the mindset of your education system, the bureaucracy that is trying to control entire education machinery, bureaucracy is not in the strict sense of the government machinery, but the kind of institutions, and that's in there. I would like to bring in this new education, draft of new education policy.
Okay.
Because it is coming up with a new idea of having some kind of National Education Commission, which will oversee a kind of policy framework for
bridging this gap
and providing basic framework for educational institutions, but at the same time it will allow them to function autonomously as per the local needs. If somehow government finds and bureaucracy executes, and society responds to this kind of initiative, I think that will be a major breakthrough as far as the real reform is concerned.
Right, and if you talk about, we mentioned a challenge about this gap that exists between in jobs, in use and the availability of suitable jobs and vice versa. Now, Prime Minister, time and again, he speaks about India's movement towards $5 trillion economy. In its movement, apart from these challenges that we've spoken about, what are going to be the hurdles? The international cues as of now are not very pleasant, whether we talk about US-China trade war or oil embargo in Iran and the kind of impact it has on India. Road ahead, what are going to be the driving forces in India becoming an economy that big, and what are going to be the challenges?
See, frankly speaking, we by nature are not very high-tech based economy. Our strength has been yes, innovation, entrepreneurship.
But it's changing. The pattern is there is a change. There
is a change. There is a change. But there is, see, the way world is moving, if you see in terms of the investment, for example, that is taking place in China or US, for example, in the high-end technology like
startups,
artificial intelligence, or compared to that, we are nowhere. Ultimately, our strength has been human-intensive economy.
Okay.
And how you use that human strength productively and skillfully, both the things have to go hand in hand. The real challenge is many people feel, especially in agro and allied services, that you feel that you are employed, but you are actually not.
Right.
And on the other hand, you in many of the urban sectors you are underemployed. So this gap is huge. We are moving in one direction as far as our smart cities and metro cities are concerned, but rest of India. So creating synergy, we have completely created three different lives, one in forest, one in rural area, and the other in urban and metropolitan cities. There has to be a synergy, and that has been our strength. We didn't look at this national life in fragments unless we develop that. And ease of doing business competition that has emerged among various states is perhaps a cue where we need to create similar kind of mindset when it comes to water management, rural development, small scale industry development, and this competitive spirit perhaps will create a new kind of atmosphere.
Right, and Praful, finally, this meeting of course took place yesterday, the pep talk for the top bureaucrats. Another big news that came yesterday was this action against corrupt officers. Both really happened, the news came in simultaneously. So a clear message being sent out that delivery performance is going to be acknowledged and appreciated, and corruption will not be tolerated.
That's what I said, you know, in the beginning when I said,
yes,
on the one hand you can think yourself to be PM and take a bold decisions. If you make mistake while making those bold decisions,
right,
PM will take the responsibility. But that doesn't mean that you are not accountable for your other actions.
Right.
You are accountable, you are responsible for the people, for the constitution, and for the political authority. So don't take your positions for granted. This is a very, very stern message, and very, you know, and that has to be, and that's why I said this is a very different approach with dealing with the steel frame.
Right, there, Praful, thanks very much for joining us this evening for this conversation. Appreciate you being present in the studio, and we'll have to wait and watch how the way Prime Minister connects people's mandate with the performance of the bureaucrats, what results it shows.